Okay, and now to explain the plexuses. Plexuses are the network of nerves. There's 4 of them formed by spinal nerves. So the first plexus is called the cervical plexus. Right here, it is formed between C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. I'm going to zoom in on it right here. Okay, and it's kind of like if these nerves C1, C2, they kind of like connected to each other, sort of like this. So through C5. In like various ways. They form kind of like these braids. This is a very approximate representation of that. But what happens is that in the end, there's going to be several nerves that will come out of that. Kind of like there's like 5 nerves that come from this plexus. So this right here will be a plexus called cervical plexus. It's when cervical nerves or spinal nerves intertwine, they form these networks. So this is called cervical plexus. It's formed between C1 through C5 spinal nerves. And as a result, coming out of these plexuses, there are nerves. These are nerves. I'm going to grab a different color pen to show you the difference. So these are going to be the nerves. These are the nerves that will connect to different body parts. So for example, there's going to be a nerve called lesser occipital nerve. There's going to be a nerve called greater auricular nerve, N is for nerve. Then there's going to be a nerve called transverse cervical. Supraclavicular and phrenic nerve. Okay, and in the following slides I have the explanations of some of these nerves. This is the cervical plexus. And this is the diagram of the phrenic nerve. Phrenic nerve. Phrenic nerve is one of the nerves from this originating from the cervical plexus, specifically nerves C3, C4, and C5. And this is the phrenic nerve. It actually enters the thoracic cavity. It passes between the heart and the lungs. Of course, there's a phrenic nerve on each side of the body, passes between the heart and the lungs. And what it does is that it connects to the heart and to the diaphragm. Okay, and what this nerve does, it controls the rhythmical movement of the diaphragm when we're breathing. So this is a breathing nerve, and it's 100% essential for the sustenance of life. This is a nerve called supraclavicular nerve. It also comes from the cervical plexus. Here's the supraclavicular nerve. It spreads through the muscle of the area kind of like above the clavicle or around the clavicle. So it goes into the trapezius muscle right here, parts of the sternocleidomastoid, the deltoid muscle, and even the pectoralis muscle. So this is going to be not the muscle. It's going to be the skin over that muscle. So skin over superior portion of the chest and shoulders. So it's going to be the skin over this muscle, not the muscle itself. So this is actually a sensory nerve mostly. So it's going to be skin on top of the shoulder and a little bit of the chest. So through this nerve, we're going to be receiving sensations from these areas, sensations such as touch, temperature, pain, and proprioception. Here's the lesser occipital nerve. It spreads over the occipital region of the head, the skin of that region. And this is the greater auricular nerve. That's auricular means ear. So it's going to be coming around the region, spreading around the region of the ear and kind of like under the ear, the jaw line over the skin of that area. Okay, so the next plexus is brachial plexus. And I'm going to go back to the main diagram for this plexus. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in on this plexus a little bit right here. And what happens is that the brachial plexus is formed between C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. So the C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. Okay, there's going to be more overlapping of the nerves, intertwining of the nerves of the plexus. I'm not going to draw all of it out. Just going to make a little kind of like a diagram of that. It's not a real representation of what this plexus looks like. And this plexus is very long. It says all of this is the brachial plexus. So brachial plexus is located in the muscle at the top of the shoulder, and it also goes into the armpit. That's the plexus, a very long plexus. And from it, there's several arm nerves that originate. And some of these nerves will be axillary nerve, musculocutaneous nerve, more nerves will be radial nerve, ulnar nerve, median nerve, and that's basically it, the main ones. So I'm gonna skip forward to review the function of these nerves. Okay, so here's the diagram showing where these nerves are located. This is the brachial plexus, and here's the collarbone and the scapula bone, the shoulder blade bone. So under or deep to the the clavicle, the collarbone, there's going to be this plexus, and it's going to go, the brachial plexus is going to go from the spine into the armpit region, and that's where the nerves will be forming. So I believe this one is the axillary nerve because it goes into the armpit and spreads around the deltoid muscle area. Here's the longer nerves in the arm. So if you go follow the main lines, the middle nerve right here that starts from the lateral side of the humerus, then towards the anterior medial side of the humerus, and then between the radius and ulna into the wrist, and spreads into all of the fingers on the palm side or anterior side, except the pinky, except the little finger. So this is going to be the median nerve. So it's going to be operating or controlling the flexors of the forearm and the lateral palm muscles. Now on the median side of the arm, so starting from the armpit, along the medial side of the humerus, and the medial side of the ulna, and then into the little finger and some of the palm and fingers, this nerve is called ulnar nerve. So it's going to be operating most of the hand muscles. So our brain will be controlling most hand muscles through this nerve. And then On the lateral side of the humerus, so starting from the armpit behind, so posterior to the humerus, going over to the lateral side of the humerus along the radius bone and into the back of the hand, there's going to be a radial nerve. So it's going to be operating muscle triceps brachii in the back of the arm, brachioradialis on the side right here, forearm extensor muscles in the back of the forearm. So three main nerves in the arm. The middle nerve in the anterior medial portion of the arm is the median nerve. The medial side of the arm is the ulnar nerve, and the posterior and lateral side of the arm will be radial nerve. Okay, so here's another view of the median and ulnar nerve. So this is the spinal nerves, this is the brachial plexus, and this is going to be the median nerve right in the middle of the arm, in front of the humerus, so anterior of the humerus, and then following the midline of the arm into the palm. So it's going to spread into the thumb, index finger, middle finger, then the ring finger, and not the pinky, not the little finger. And it's also going to pass right under this band in the front of the wrist, in the anterior portion of the wrist, forming the carpal tunnel. So this is the nerve of the carpal tunnel, the median nerve. Ulnar nerve will also begin at the armpit, then travel along the medial side of the arm, then along the ulna bone, and then spread its fibers into the ring finger and the pinky, so into the fourth and the fifth finger. This is the ulnar nerve. Here's the position of the ulnar nerve again. On the medial side of the arm, it goes a little bit into the thumb as well. This is the position of radial nerve. Radial nerve travels along the posterior side of humerus, then along the lateral side of the arm, which is the radius, and the radius gets kind of like twisted over the ulna. This is radius right here. When we twist our arm in a pronation, it's going to be on the lateral side of the wrist and spread into the thumb, the first finger, second finger, third finger, and fourth finger on the posterior side of the arm. Carpal tunnel is the area in the wrist right here. It is formed by this ligament in the wrist, and the space under the ligament, blood vessels and nerves pass through. So median nerve passes right through this opening under the ligament in a carpal tunnel. And sometimes when we do too much movement, that makes our hands be held in this position too long. This is called the hyperextension. So like normally the wrist is straight extended. This is flexion. This is extension. This is hyperextension. So if we keep our hands up too much in a hyperextension, especially when typing or doing like small work like sewing or making jewelry, sometimes this area can get irritated and swollen, and that's going to put extra pressure on the nerve inside of this carpal tunnel. And that could create numbness and tingling sensations in these fingers. So the first, second, third, and even the fourth finger a little bit, but not the pinky so much. So usually on the palm side. It could also be really painful in the wrist area because of the inflammation and the compression of the median nerve. And sometimes if the carpal tunnel is too bad, the people undergo a surgery where the ligament is cut to alleviate some of the pressure on the nerve. Okay, so the lumbar plexus is formed by, so what I wanted to mention before that is that the thoracic nerve, with the exception of the first thoracic nerve and the last thoracic nerve, they don't form plexuses. Instead, they become nerves that travel between the ribs. They become nerves that travel between the ribs, and these are called intercostal nerves. Intercostal nerves.